repeat it in English again.
Yes.
OK，亲爱的总统先生。
I'm Qian Wentao from Shanghai Jiaotong University. I want to pose a question from the internet. I want to thank you, Mr. President, for visiting China in your first year in office and exchange views with us in China. I want to know what are you bringing to China in your visit to China this time, and what will you bring back to the United States?
And I'm be honorable to be here to represent one of the friends from internet to ask one question. Firstly, thanks for visiting China at the first year of your presidency. And my question is, what have you in this Chinese trip? What have you brought to China, and what do you want from China? Thank you.
Okay. Well, the main purpose of my trip is to deepen my understanding of China and its vision for the future. I have had several meetings now with President Hu. We participate together in the G20 summit that was dealing with the economic financial crisis. We have had consultations about a wide range of issues. But I think it's very important for the United States to continually deepen its understanding of China, just as it's important for China to continually deepen its understanding of the United States. In terms of what I'd like to get out of this meeting or this visit, in addition to having the wonderful opportunity to see the Forbidden City and the Great Wall, and to meet with all of you, these are all highlights. Oh. These are all highlights, but in addition to that, the discussions that I intend to have with President Hu speak to the point that Ambassador Huntsman made earlier, which is there are very few global challenges that can be solved unless the United States and China agree. So let me give you a specific example, and that is the issue we were just discussing of climate change. The United States and China are the world's two largest emitters of greenhouse gases, of carbon that is causing the planet to warm. Now, the United States, as a highly developed country, as I said before, per capita consumes much more energy and emits much more greenhouse gases for each individual than does China. On the other hand, China is growing at a much faster pace, and it has a much larger population. So unless both of our countries are willing to take critical steps in dealing with this issue, we will not be able to resolve it. There's going to be a Copenhagen conference in December in which world leaders are trying to find a recipe so that we can all make commitments that are differentiated, so each country would not have the same obligations. Obviously, China, which has much more poverty, should not have to do exactly the same thing as the United States, but all of us should have these certain obligations in terms of what our plan will be to reduce these greenhouse gases. So that's an example of what I hope to get out of this meeting, a meeting of the minds between myself and President Hu about how together the United States and China can show leadership. Because I will tell you, other countries around the world will be waiting for us. They will watch to see what we do. And if they say, you know, the United States and China, they're not serious about this, then they won't be serious either. That is the burden of leadership that both of our countries now carry. And my hope is that the more discussion and dialogue that we have, the more we are able to show this leadership to the world on these many critical issues. Okay? All right. I think it must be a boy's turn now, right? So I'll call on this young man right here.
总统先生您好，我是来自
Let me get my
Mr. President, good afternoon. I'm from Tongji University. I want to cite a saying from Confucius. It is always good to have a friend coming from afar. In Confucius' books, there is a great saying which says that harmony is good, but also we uphold differences. China advocates a harmonious world. We know that the United States develops a culture that features diversity. I want to know, what will your government do to build a diversified world with different cultures? What would you do to respect the different cultures and histories of other countries, and what kinds of cooperation we can conduct in the future?
This is an excellent point. The United States, one of our strengths is that we are a very diverse culture. We have people coming from all around the world. And so there's no one definition of what an American looks like. In my own family, I have a father who was from Kenya. I have a mother who was from Kansas in the Midwest of the United States. My sister is half Indonesian. She's married to a Chinese person from Canada. So when you see family gatherings in the Obama household, it looks like the United Nations. And that is a great strength of the United States, because it means that we learn from different cultures and different foods and different ideas, and that has made us a much more dynamic society. Now, what is also true is that each country in this interconnected world has its own culture and its own history and its own traditions. And I think it's very important for the United States not to assume that what is good for us is automatically good for somebody else. And we have to have some modesty about our attitudes towards other countries. I have to say, though, as I said in my opening remarks, that we do believe that there are certain fundamental principles that are common to all people, regardless of culture. So, for example, in the United Nations, we are very active in trying to make sure that children all around the world are treated with certain basic rights, that if children are being exploited, if there's forced labor for children, that despite the fact that that may have taken place in the past in many different countries, including the United States, that all countries of the world now should have developed to the point where we are treating children better than we did in the past. That's a universal value. I believe, for example, the same thing holds true when it comes to the treatment of women. I had a very interesting discussion with the mayor of Shanghai during lunch right before I came, and he informed me that in many professions now, here in China, there are actually more women enrolled in college than there are men, and that they are doing very well. I think that is an excellent indicator of progress, because it turns out that if you look at development around the world, one of the best indicators of whether or not a country does well is how well it educates its girls and how it treats its women. And countries that are tapping into the talents and the energy of women and giving them educations typically do better economically than countries that don't. So now,